Welcome, Spartans, to Mission Debrief. We've played every mission of the mainline Halo video games, and now we're playing every mission from the rest of the games of the franchise in chronological order. Each episode will be discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be playing the Ascension mission from Halo Wars 2 on the next episode. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Podcast Evolved on Patreon. You can also receive a free audiobook trial by visiting audibletrial.com/podcastevolved. This episode, we're debriefing the A New Enemy mission from Halo Wars 2. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krista Brown.
Cutter for president.
Yes.
Calling it now.
It would be so good.
Cutter, we trust.
Last mission was the Signal. After 28 years adrift in space, the UNSC Spirit of Fire was mysteriously transported to the Ark, and its crew was released from cryosleep. Professor Ellen Anders detected a mysterious signal emanating from a specific outpost on the Forerunner superstructure, and Captain Cutter ordered Red Team to investigate. There, the Spartan 2s recovered a logistics AI named Isabel before getting pummeled by a powerful brute that leads a faction of ex-Covenant mercenaries. Enter Atriox. Now in this mission, Isabel reluctantly issues Cutter and the Spirit of Fire crew a report of the threat they face on Installation 00. The Banished have an opposing force dug into the Ark, and she suggests the only way to survive is to run. Never one to back down from a fight, Cutter fires up his crew with a rousing speech and deploys Spartan Jerome back to the surface to set up a firebase near the location of one of Atriox's lieutenants. The date of the game is March 28th, 2559. Let's talk about this amazing cutscene.
They're all amazing.
They're all so nice. So good.
More amazing cutscene. It's very good.
Yes, so it starts off real nice with the Spirit of Fire just silhouetted against the ginormous Ark. You see a Pelican kind of fly in, and I'm pretty sure that's just from the previous mission that's got Red Team on it coming back, and they're just talking about the fact that we got our ass kicked, and but then the drum comes in and he plugs in. Well, we don't know if it's drum. It could be anybody. It's impossible.
It is
to tell.
drum.
It's impossible to call it. And he plugs in Isabel into the table that you see Cutter in his command center. I know what they say, they make a remark that it's an old ship, but this is a badass look. This looks way better than Infinity, like the bridge of Infinity. I love this bridge area here. The command center. It's so cool. It's so dark. I so like all that kind of blue lights, little bits of red. It just looks so cool. So you got an unknown Spartan and Cutter standing at the table, and he kind of immediately plugs in Isabel, and she's in a position you wouldn't see in her. She's like a child, just slumped down on the ground, legs crossed, just sulking for all other intents and purposes. So my immediate kind of response, but not responsive, but my immediate impression of Isabel is kind of negative, because she's really kind of down, she's really frazzled, do you know what I mean, by her encounters. Now granted, she has seen everybody she was sent here to protect die, so and who knows how long that beacon was pulsing out.
True.
That she was kind of waiting, so it's probably not great. But I have to say, immediately these two characters play off each other, Cutter and Isabel. Their facial acting is just so good. It's just such a the delivery here of their lines and just their dialogue back and forward. is awesome. So like Jerome does like an introduction, and she's just like, yeah, I know who Cutter is. And she's kind of pretty much says like, oh, you're supposed to be lost with all hands, and he's like, not completely lost. And which is pretty cool. And then it's a bit of like, he's trying to get a report off her, and she's just not really responsive. Again, it kind of comes across, you know, she's not a military AI, so she's probably not used to doing like this or being like addressed so abruptly. So there's a little bit of kind of hesitancy, but eventually he kind of like calls her to task. She kind of like rematerializes like fully standing and starts kind of giving the Atriox intro speech, which is, and she kind of sets up the game of like where you are, what's kind of happened, which is so cool. And
It's
you've probably
such a
seen
good
this already
scene.
because
It's a real good one.
yeah, they've used it in the promotions. It's pretty much retold in the Rise of Atriox comics, and it's just like where he came from, his origins. It's so badass seeing him take on the elites and just like grabbing the sword as it's cutting through his hand, and just kind of holding it. It's like, oh yeah. And you see all these brutes just murder the shit out of these elites.
And they use that like kind of like slow motion where they're like, it's kind of like from 300, right? The movie.
Oh yeah, man, 360 slow-mo murder. It's so good.
And then they speed up the camera and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very good.
Oh, and
Oh,
those red energy swords, man.
Mm.
Oh,
Yes.
beautiful.
They're so incredible. And I have to say that like elite commander's helmet with like the Viking horns that come around the side, that's so cool. That's such a cool design. We don't get to see that anymore, but anyway.
So when Atriox is like dragging the gravity hammer up into the scene there, the comic book shows what happened before then, which is cool.
Yeah, the kind of suicidal fight and stuff. I think it's humans he was fighting, wasn't it?
Yes.
He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fighting humans, but there was a brute that was sent to murder him with that gravity.
Ah, that's
He killed
right.
him instead.
That's
Which is
right.
why he throws it down in front of them.
Yeah.
That's a cool scene. And then it has like one of the most awesome lines to set up a character in all of Halo. Of during the years of the war, the Covenant had two targets. They had humanity and Atriox. They almost crushed humanity. The Atriox, they never even came close.
Oh,
I was like, oh, shivers.
so good.
And it does the slow zoom of showing like Atriox looking over his forces, and it's just scarabs and like everything, like crazy ass ghosts, and like the Banished design is so awesome. Just their vehicles and how they're different, and they just have a good aesthetic. And you'll also see this elite commander, like Shipmaster, more or less in the background of a lot of these scenes. He's an important character that comes through the comics, of like where Atriox got his ships and stuff was pretty much from this Shipmaster. Like he was, can't remember the name of the ship. I think it's in this game. We'll come across it. But it's like the only super carrier he has access to, and that's where his fleet is pretty much came from. This is the bulk of his fleet came from this, the defection of this Shipmaster.
Yeah.
And that's where she's talking about like mercenaries and stuff like that. That's kind of what she's talking about, which is unusual for elites to be like mercenaries. But it shows you how awesome the power of him is. He is.
The
And then-
shipmaster's name is Let Valir.
Lear,
Which
cool.
I think we'll meet him later. I know
I
he's
think
in
he's in the
multiplayer,
game.
I forget
Yeah.
the campaign. So we'll find out more about him later.
Yeah. Isabel pretty much then shits on the Spirit of Fire, like, all you got's one
Yeah.
little crappy ship, like,
She
do you know what I mean? And Cutter just takes us on the chin and then just fucking nails the response of like, you see, I love the crew kind of building up and kind of shifting around in the background, and there's loads of kind of cool camera scenes of like Cutter's retort to this of like, where you see a shitty ship, this is my home. Where you see half a crew, I see my family. Do you know what I mean? Our lives are gone. We're 30 years past what you could have asked of us. Like, do you know what I mean? Any more that you could have asked of us. What we have is each other, and what we're going to do is fight this motherfucker and kick his teeth in. But his speech is better than mine. But that's just like the Irish translation.
Let's go
It's
have
just such a
fun.
cool scene. It just, again, you've just had Aatrox set up as this amazing character, and you have like, okay, what have we got on the other side? We have Cutter, and he is also a really good character. And you even see Isabel kind of getting all pumped up a little bit. So she's like, oh yes sir. And then immediately when the mission starts, she's kind of shitting all over you again. But that's her job, so that's okay. I don't think I missed anything else in that cutscene, but it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
And I love the kind of just
one of my favorite spots. Just back to Atrax. Atrax is, I've embraced him. He's one of my favorite characters in Halo. Hopefully we see him down the road. We'll find out. But I love it when the elite in the cutscene is gonna murder him, and he grabs the hilt of the energy sword, and just stops it. That's so good. That gave me some good feelings inside.
And the whole when that's happening, she's saying in the 1,000 years of the Covenant history, he's the only one who stood up and survived, as opposed to everyone else rebelled and lost. Mm-hmm. That's just such a cool way to set up a person. Do you know what I mean? Set up an antagonist for a game.
And he's almost like a he's almost like the heretic, right, from Halo Wars 2, where
but way more successful.
Yeah, way more successful. But he's like, oh yeah, the Covenant's full of shit. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. You guys don't care about us clearly, so I'm going to gather everybody. I'm just going to gather an army based off of my own integrity and my own presence, right? And we're going to fight back. Yeah. Super cool.
But he got click-clacked real fast.
It's a heretic, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Not
they
so much
shut
on
that
Atrax,
shit
though.
Down real fast.
I do like a little more on Atrax before we get into the mission. I do like how they came up with the Banished here, and the game released in 2017 after a whole bunch of other games had already released, but they've been inserting Banished mentions into media that has come out since. And then I think did they mention Banished in re-releases of some of the books as well?
I'm not sure about re-releases, but a couple of the books leading up to this had Banished mentions.
Okay, yeah. So they've done a good job. Clearly it wouldn't have been because they didn't exist mentioned in the earlier media or the games, but now they're saying, oh yeah, the Banished were around this, that, and the other thing. So there hasn't been really a book that's focused on the Banished, but they've I think effectively inserted them into the larger universe to kind of make up for the fact that we didn't mention them before, but yeah, they were there the whole time.
I think that's fine, because humanity was too busy getting its ass kicked to really worry, and the Covenant is so actually ginormous that it's totally possible they could be fighting multiple wars, and the very nature of Atrax's way of fighting the Covenant was guerrilla style hit and run, so he was probably on maybe a smaller scale but more successful than humanity, because obviously humanity had hundreds of colonies as opposed to Atrax just having what he had with him.
Yeah, but he had no reason to go after the humans. He was just fighting back. The Covenant were pissed off at him.
Yeah.
And he was fighting back.
Yeah, and I think later, they even touch upon there are humans within the Banished.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the Banished taken anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a melting pot. I like it.
It's kind of like Venezia.
Yeah, Venezia. Someday we'll get there, Krista.
I know, I want to go so bad.
All right, so let's talk about the opening. I guess so. The gameplay cutscene then, where let's see here. Actually, we do the mission briefing first. But I'll just mention. I guess the gameplay cut is Cutter drops Jerome and a few Marines off on the map, and they refer to as Strike One, and then you just kind of take them through the mission from there. So they get that little introduction. They kind of get plopped off onto the map. But we have our mission briefing screen, and then we have all our objectives and other stuff that we go through on all the missions. So we'll do that really quickly before we dive into the actual walkthrough of the mission itself. So there's the briefings that we mentioned in the first episode, how once you start the mission, you don't actually start the mission. You kind of go into this screen that gives you some more information, and there's some dialogue between some of the major characters to help set the scene a little bit more. So as a part of that, Cutter is just talking about attacking Atrax's chain of command. They've just come into the Ark. The Banished are dug in somewhere. They don't maybe know exactly where they are, so they're gonna have to kind of chip away at the Banished to gain a foothold on the Ark and help establish some sort of a force to fight back. So they're starting that with attacking Decimus specifically, and he has a what do they call a salvage operation in this area, and so it's trying to strike at his one of those areas of supplies and things like that. Isabel specifically calls out Decimus and then says that she talks about the salvage operation that's nearby the Henry Lamb Research Outpost where we just were, and Anders is like, oh, by the way, the portal's closed, remember? So we have no way to call for help. And Cutter's like, yeah, you got to figure that out.
That's your job, lady.
Sort that out for us and get back to me. So that's the dialogue that is before you actually get into the gameplay, and then the mission summary itself, which I just mentioned, is lead the UNSC assault against Decimus's salvage operation. The objectives, there's a lot of objectives in this mission. I'll just kind of go through them really quick here. The main objectives change. Like the main objective is to defeat Decimus, but they uncover, because this is kind of a tutorial mission, right? Like the last mission was a tutorial, but you're just moving a warthog around. Now we actually get bases and we're building things like that. So the first objective is to clear out the banished camps that you get, strike one gets dropped off right by those. Then you need to capture that power node, activate the light bridge, secure the base site, establish a headquarters, then build a supply pad, generator, and barracks. All the stuff that we will come to just be second nature to us in the future missions. Then we need to strike at Decimus's main base and then defeat Decimus. The optional objectives are destroy 11 banished supply silos.
So many.
That's a lot. You need to capture 4 of Decimus power nodes, and then also establish a second base. Those are the optional objectives. Then you have bonus objectives, which are 4. There's kill 30 infantry with Hellbringers. Wait, the 30's not right. I think it was only 15. Yeah, the book I have, so my strategy guide is different than what's actually in the game. So they wrote it,
well, that's not
obviously
right.
way beforehand. Yeah, they wrote it way beforehand. Like the objectives are right, but like the numbers aren't right. So like the part-time in the strategy guide says 40 minutes, and in this it says 20 minutes, like in the game. So they did some adjusting after the fact. Anyway, so I think it's kill 15 infantry with Hellbringers, then destroy, it says 20 enemy bases, 20 enemy structures. That's right. Yep, that's right. So destroy 20 enemy structures with Hellbringers also. So your Hellbringers are really working this mission. Use 5 restoration drones, and then the final bonus objective is take out 10 targets with the grenade ability, which you don't get until the very end of the mission, really. I mentioned the part-time is 20 minutes, and then scoring goals. This game is weird, and part of the reason we're not doing the competition is because Chris is best. But also, this game doesn't really seem to care about your score. It still has gold. It doesn't. Like, it's weird. It still has gold, silver, and bronze, but it doesn't tell you like how the formula is, like how it figures out the score.
Doesn't give you a breakdown.
And not at all. And then the game doesn't really keep track of your scores after the fact. If you look in all the menus, it'll tell you what your best score was or your best time was, but it won't give you any more information beyond that. So it really just, all it really cares, and maybe some of that's tied to achievements, and they did some research about, I don't know, how much people access that stuff. I don't know. But it still has the gold, silver, and bronze, and there is an achievement tied to getting gold on all of them, but it doesn't, I didn't see one that was tied to a difficulty. So really, you could just go through this game on easy, get all gold, and be fine and get that achievement. But if you want to challenge yourself beyond that, you can try to get gold on legendary, which sounds terrible. So gold is 100,000, silver is 50 to 99,000, and then bronze is 20,000 to 49,000. Again, we're not keeping track this time around. The skull is unlocked. Remember, we talked about in the last mission, you don't pick up the skull, you just unlock it by doing certain things. This one is tied directly to one of the optional objectives, which is capture all the power nodes. And so when you do that, you unlock Grunt Birthday Party.
Yay!
I love Halo games that unlock Grunt Birthday Party right away, because that should be unlocked immediately, so you can turn that on, which is great. All right, Krista, what's on the battlefield?
All right, we got some stuff on the battlefield. We have a hero unit, Jerome. because Alice is hiding on the Ark and Douglas got click-clacked. So
Rip.
He's alive. He's just he's out of commission.
When I first played the game, I legitimately thought he was dead.
It seemed like it.
Because they also say like we have casualties when they're pulling him away.
Yeah.
Which
and
they should have said like Spartan
meanings.
down or something.
Yeah.
I always just casualties means like he's dead to me. So
so brutal, Krista.
I don't know. So that's that. We have a fire base. We start with a combat station. You can't upgrade it to a command center or headquarters yet because the game doesn't want you to have fun.
Nope.
So we have units. We have our Marines. They're great. They come right out of the fire base.
Yeah, they
magical.
shoot guns.
And then we have some extra structures. We have a supply pad that you can't upgrade, and we have a generator that you can't upgrade. I was so pissed off. I kept like trying to see because like I'm like maybe like the game will give it to me eventually. So I kept checking, and no, the game doesn't want me to upgrade things and make
I feel
a
like
cool
you don't need
army.
it in this mission.
Huh?
You don't really need it in this mission.
You
feel.
don't. But I want.
I could have used it.
I'm playing heroic as well, so.
Yeah, that's true. It is harder.
So the generator were previously known as reactors, and instead of it being a stagnant number, you actually gain resources like a supply pad. So, we'll talk more about that later when it's relevant, because it's not relevant in this at all. And then you get a barracks, and the only thing that you can make in the barracks is Hellbringers, which were the flamethrower dudes in Halo Wars, and that's it. You get Marines and Hellbringers, and that's it.
They bring the hell.
They don't. And meanwhile, we also have the Spirited Fire ability, which is just the restoration drones. So we get Marines and Hellbringers. Meanwhile, the Banished have Decimus, who's at the very end, and he's in his big combat exoskeleton, like the big chonky boy he is. And then we have our ground units, Grunts, Brutes, and Hunters. They have vehicles, choppers, and they have spirit drop ships, and we're supposed to do this all with just Hellbringers and Marines. But okay, that makes complete sense. That's fine.
The game gives you some Hornets, but you can't control them.
And you get 2 Warthogs.
And those, a couple Warthogs, and then those Kodiaks that are there, but you can't control them.
They don't help you when you need it.
They do not.
And that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Krista. Again, like difficulty modifications that I mentioned in the first episode, it doesn't seem to give you like a certain buff. Like it, again, I could be wrong. Krista, maybe you can chime in here since you played on a higher difficulty, but I did mess around with heroic and legendary just to see. And playing legendary, I had my initial strike team of Jerome Marine and my couple Marines. And they, that initial encounter, we just bring them up to the front and just, try to, take out the Banished that are in that little camp. I think there's maybe 2 squads. They seem to go down pretty easily. So I don't know if there's like a buff like there is in the Halo Wars where it's like, they're 25% more, have more health and stuff like that. But the thing that I noticed is that as soon as the health bar got down to red for the Brute and Grunt squads, they started to run away. And so where they didn't do that on normal or heroic for me. So and I think maybe that does hold true based off of what I read off in the strategy guide last time, is the computer is just way better at this game, and it maximizes the use of its resources. And remember when we talked about the actions per minute, the APM. So on easy, it expects you to have 15 actions per minute, normal 30, on heroic 60 actions per minute, and then on legendary 90. So that feels right, that the computer is way more efficient. It's just way better on the higher difficulties. Does that sound right to you, Krista? Or did it seem like the units were more difficult in terms of, or like had bigger health bars, or their bullets hit harder?
No, I believe it's literally the computer's just, like you said, just a little smarter with everything. They prioritize better. They tend to not keep their units clumped together and kind of, evenly distribute them around the map and stuff like that. So, and I actually like it better than what Halo Wars 1 did, where everything's just like buffed a little bit, so it's more of a bullet sponge. This is just more strategy, which I think is just, it comes with the technology. There's better AI now that can actually, make strategies to try to murder you. But
Okay, so that's good to know that that's consistent. Maybe feel free to tell us if we're wrong, but that felt right. When I played on Legendary towards the end of this mission, well, actually just crossing over into like right nearby Decimus's. Actually, I think it was just going up the hill, to be honest. Like, they had so many units. They had, like, all their units. They just crushed my army, my little puny army. And that was because the AI was, like, building up his entire army, waiting while you were trying to build up, build your base and do all the other things. So, anyway, just a note on the difficulty. We probably won't mention difficulty like the modifications that we talked about in the last series in Halo Wars 1 anymore. We'll just talk about Chris's experience on heroic versus ours on normal. All right, the mission starts pretty simple. David, do you want to talk about actually, Chris, why don't you talk about the beginning of the mission a little bit, since David's given us some nice overview of the cutscenes and whatnot.
Sure. The beginning of the mission is pretty simple. It's just kind of holding your hand and showing you kind of just the different buildings and how to capture power nodes, and it gives you a small group of people, and then every once in a while Hornets will come in and help you, or the Kodiaks will help you, and you're just kind of moving along the map, killing random stragglers, and you find a couple supplies, like, what are they called, like containers that you can blow up?
Oh yeah, the Banish supply
silos?
Yeah, it teaches you about that. It's pretty simple. It also teaches you how to garrison units and ungarrison units and the benefits of it. Also, like, enemy garrisoned units are so tough to kill.
They're bad.
Yeah.
They really are.
It's crazy. So this is just a lot more tutorial, just showing you how the maps work, what you might find on them, how you can find extra supplies. Just kind of leading you up to drop the whole you can have a base thing on you a little later.
Yeah. The supplies they look a little different. Before they were physical crates that you could go and pick up, and I think sometimes there's time, I guess, depending on what they look like. In this mission specifically, they're just like little blue cubes
Yeah.
that you go and walk over.
They're just tesseracts.
Did you? Yeah, right. Did you have a hard time? Like, every time I would move my units, like, and just click on top of the blue cubes,
Not good enough.
it wouldn't pick.
Yeah.
It wouldn't pick.
You have to You have to pick the other side of it and get them to go through it.
Yeah, I found
Why?
that
They
too.
stop
They
right
like
in
stop
front of
right
it.
in front of it, and they won't get them. I do like shooting a structure and then the cubes popping out, and it takes no time to get them though.
Yeah.
Because in Halo Wars 1, you had like to spend time gathering.
Did you find it weird? So one of the bonus objectives that we talked about is destroy the banished, what are the just structures, the buildings?
Yeah.
And you got to blow up a bunch of them with Hellbringers specifically. Is there any benefit to that, like from a score standpoint? I mean, that was the other thing that like the game doesn't tell you that. It's just like blow.
You mean do objectives
Yeah,
give you
blowing
bonus
up
points?
random buildings? No, I don't think it gives you like extra score for blowing up random buildings. I think it's
have
trying
no
to show
idea.
you that Hellbringers are a little more.
They're good at
They do
destroying
damage.
buildings.
Yeah, they do better damage on buildings than Marines.
Yeah.
I think
guess
that's
that
what
could
it's supposed to do.
be it. But I found, I guess we'll talk about now. I found those Hellbringer bonus objectives a chore, and I still haven't gotten them all. Because by the time, I'll get it eventually, and I'm probably just not very good at this game, and that's fine. But I found like I was like, okay, I have to get these bonus objectives, and I played the mission, a handful of times. So I would, every building I would like, okay, I got to get all my Hellbringers and just put them there. And like when I got my base, I'd just crank out Hellbringers, and then I would like focus on the buildings. But then later in the mission, I would just kind of like lose track of them almost. And then by the time I got to Decimus, like I had like a couple structures I still needed to get, and then the other objective is to kill 15 enemy units with Hellbringers. And a lot of times Jerome will just snipe them with his Spartan laser and just take the kill away. So like the Hellbringers will be like melting a guy slowly, and then Jerome will just come in and kill him, and they'll take it away from me. So I ended up not getting either of those. I did get the structure one. The other one I didn't get was the Marine grenade one, because you don't get that one until late.
What you need to do is, there's a way to, I'm not sure how it is on PC, but there's a way to only select your Hellbringers, and you just need to leave everyone else somewhere on the map, and then just go around with the Hellbringers.
But that was like that felt like a chore to me, right? Because I felt like I had to actively take Jerome out of the equation and move him somewhere else. It's
optional for a reason.
I know, but I was trying to, like the game wants you to get them all, like in the screen. It doesn't really care about your score, but in the screen where you pick your mission, it says, okay, have you gotten all the optional objectives? Have you gotten all the bonus objectives? Have you gotten the skull and all that stuff? So it lists all that stuff off. So it wants you to do that, even though it doesn't, care about your score at all. So it's just weird. I guess it was a lot to throw at you, all these optional objectives, all these bonus objectives on a tutorial mission where it's just kind of teaching you a little bit about the game, giving you a couple different units. So anyway, just comment about the mission. Did that frustrate you at all, David? I guess you.
Well, I'm not going for score anymore, so
yeah.
I'm not too. I will say, like, I got a way better score in this mission than I thought I should have gotten, because I just played terribly and played way too long doing nothing, exploring the map and just kind of like really appreciating how beautiful it is and the sounds, like the waterfall sounds and the river sounds. I really noticed that this time down. I don't know why. So I spent way too long doing nothing, and then when I approached the top of the hill, I got murdered. I had to build up another army and come back again. So like, I don't know why, but it's comforting to know that the optional stuff is totally optional, but there's got to be a benefit to it, right? It's got to give you something.
Well, I think to Krista's point, it's teaching you that, and I didn't think of that, the teaching that Hellbringers are good against structures. Why you need to kill 20 of them to learn that lesson, I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, they just pick an arbitrary number and make you do it, but
yeah,
I think they're just trying to show you, like in this one, they have these optional objectives to show you what each unit's good at. Marines can throw grenades, Hellbringers are good at infantry, and they're good at destroying buildings. It's just trying to highlight all the good and bad of each unit, because I think that's something Halo Wars 1 didn't do very well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I struggle. I played this game, like I said, this mission a couple times. Hellbringers do not seem like good units to me. I would rather just have a bunch of Marines.
They have to be up really close to actually do any damage.
Yeah,
what this game kind of lacks is like some kind of APC to get those troops to where you need them to go relatively unharmed. So that would be my key thing of like for those type of units, because they get murdered on their way running to stuff.
Well, that's because they're terrible against the vehicles. Like the choppers,
yeah, that's true.
Melt the whole, like 5 or 6 of them that are right there.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, if you want to get all the objectives, it is a challenge. It was for me. I don't know, Krista, were you able to get them all when you when you played?
I had gotten them all previously, so I haven't been paying it. I had gotten all of the, like, the thing when you start the mission, it says you have this out of this and this out of this and this out of this. Yeah, at one point I just went through and maxed everything out, so.
Nice, yeah. And you can do that on any level, really. Yeah. So, and then, like I said, like, the bonus objectives, they're not really worth that much. I think there must be a multiplier in there at some capacity, but again, the game doesn't really tell you that. But they're only really there. It says they're worth 1,000 points, but then it's probably added to your larger score and then multiplied by the combat bonus and the time bonus that we covered off back in Halo Wars 1. So anyway, I think to your point, it's just like it's teaching you more about the game. Hey, you can do these things. It's giving you more stuff to do if you want to play the mission again, really. But then I felt like just because the numbers were there and it's hanging over my head, I wanted to do all that, and it like sucked the fun out of this mission for me. But the end is pretty cool, right? Like by the time you get to Decimus.
Oh yeah, that's a great fight. Oh my goodness. And it's like right at the beginning of the game.
Why don't you, Krista, take us through? So you build your base. That's a basic thing, right? Like, you build your supply. It tells you what you need to build. Why don't you take us through from there up until half. Like the back half of the mission?
So one of the optional objectives is to capture all of the little power nodes that are kind of situated everywhere. And every time you capture them, Decimus is so grumpy.
yeah, that's right.
He's real grumpy every single time, and it's kind of hilarious. And so it's basically this big hill, and you're just kind of making your way up the hill.
And he sends his plasma bombardments down a couple times here and there.
Initially when you get the base, he yeets your base, which gives you an opportunity to learn about the spirit
drones.
Yeah, it's the spirit drone restoration things, which is nice to do. Very nice. It's nice to give you It's really funny. Once that hit and it stopped, I immediately used them, and then the game was confused and didn't think I used them, so it had the tutorial up until I used them again.
Oh, funny.
So you go up this hill, you capture as many power nodes as you want. The enemy can recapture them, so you have to be careful about that if you actually care about keeping them all throughout the mission, which I did.
I noticed that when I played on Legendary, they made a beeline for those things. They like immediately took them away from me.
Yeah, but it's not like you have much to use that power on anyway. So
yeah,
I'm sure later in the game it does become it does become really important, but right now it's not as important. So if you want an achievement or something, do it. Other than that, capture them as you see them, and then just kind of keep going up. As you approach the top of the hill, you notice that there's a huge base there and 1 million hunters, which is a great time to retreat. If you don't have your units maxed out, it's a really good time to do that. Of course, you get the 2 warthogs for free every single time one of them dies, for whatever reason. I'm not sure where Spirit of Fire is getting all these warthogs and how they're sending all these pelicans out without, just making a warthog depot at the base. Doesn't make any sense. But whatever.
Did you get the second base at all?
No, I didn't end up getting the second base. I just went right up the hill.
Didn't bother you with it. I guess because you've already got all the optional objectives. You didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't care. I was just at the end of the mission. I'm like, I remember on Legendary that this was really, really difficult, so I just wanted to get it over with. So once you get up to the top of the hill, you get blasted by hunters. You go back to your base, very sad, and regroup, and then you go back up. And then you get victorious, but there's a huge base. Of course, you destroy the base with a little help. And then Decimus comes out, and he's a big boy, and he's real nasty and angry, and super cool. The boss battle is really great. Every couple of health bars you take off of him, he summons this huge, 5 laser cannon blasts that go start at the outside of the circle and go in, and then makes a big explosion. He has a pretty good cue of when he's going to do that even before the AoE effect shows up, so you have to run all your units away from him, and then it explodes and you run all your units back. And it's not difficult, but it's really enjoyable. It's really fun. He's talking shit to you. He's got all these lasers. It's a good time. I really enjoyed it.
He's got a cool move as well. I think he'd use it after his bombardment, where he gravity hammers a bunch of your units towards him. And when he did that, he picked up 2 warthogs and they came flying towards him. I was like, oh shit! It looked really cool.
Yeah.
It's got a magnetic thing going on.
Yeah.
It's great. I like having such an epic boss fight towards the beginning of the game. It really sets a good tone.
It does, yeah, it's cool.
And then, of course, like a little coward, he escapes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I feel it is cool to see him, but I also feel like the first mission, because the first mission is just, again, just scoot your little warthog around, and then this mission is it throws a lot at you. So if you're not an RTS person at all, I feel like this could be a big dropping off point for some people. They're just like, oh, this is too much, I can't handle it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if it's really a big deal, they can go on easy. But I feel like the first mission, as we're talking about that was just to set the tone of the game. I feel like that was just 100% story-driven. It wasn't really meant to teach you much. And then they kind of try to teach you everything in this mission.
Yeah, exactly. They try to teach you a lot. They assume that people aren't going to go through the tutorial, and so they have to teach a lot of those lessons during the campaign. And the first, like in Halo Wars 1, the first handful of missions were all tutorial until by the end it's like, okay, here you go, you do what you want now. So yeah, I mean, I have a negative tone on this mission because it's not my favorite. I feel like mainly what I just said is like it can get overwhelming. It's trying to ask too many things from the player right away, whereas it could just been like, okay, let's just focus on building, like the Halo Wars, in Halo Wars 1, the first mission where you're building a base. It felt like that was perfect. It's build a base, build a second base, kind of go up the middle. You can spread your guys out off onto the side. I had, for some reason, with all the other objectives on this one felt way more difficult than the first base building mission in Halo Wars 1. I don't know.
Well, to kind of defend this mission a little bit, you are trying to do literally everything at once.
Yeah.
A normal player's probably a normal player who's never played an RTS is probably just going to take the mission slow and not worry about any of the optional stuff and just kind of
the part-time.
And figure it out.
That's a good point. And maybe that's why at one point in the guide it said the part-time was 40 minutes, because they're expecting people to really just slowly move around the map instead of try to get the 20-minute marker. I feel like the 20-minute marker, the 20-minute part-time doesn't consider all the objectives.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, you need 20 minutes to build your base up, build up your army, and then go take out Decimus. Whereas doing everything else, I mean, I'm sure someone's done it before, but it just takes a lot more time.
Yeah, it's just it would be juggling a lot of units all at once, which can be done, but this is supposed to be a bit simpler for people to kind of get used to. And they never attack your base at all unless after that initial bombardment, but you can turtle for a long time. You can go back and recover whatever units you need to recover. So
yeah,
they came to my base once or twice, but it was nothing really noteworthy.
Throw some guns up there, some turrets. Not a big deal. What else from this mission? The Kodiaks are cool. We didn't really mention them for a hot second. We don't get to control them, but those are like they're artillery units, really. They have these massive cannon on them that they're just bombard the other side of the map with right at the very beginning. So those are cool to see. I think we'll spend some more time with them. Well, there was the Rhino in the first game that the Kodiak is more or less replaced. So
the Kodiaks were in it too, or was it only called the Rhino?
No, it was only Rhinos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll learn more about that as we go. Let's see, what else? Oh, the Marines can throw grenades, which we're used to from the original Halo Wars, and that adds that optional objective very late. So if you're trying to, again, that's just another frustration point for me. It's like, okay, now all of a sudden I'm focused on Hellbringers. I have a ton of Hellbringers, and then, oh, by the way, you gotta have enough Marines to start throwing grenades and taking units out. But you can do that as well, but it doesn't unlock until towards the very, very end of the mission. Any other thoughts, David, on your run through?
Complicated mission a little bit. Lots going on. I guess it's to get you used to a different flavor. It doesn't give you too many units, to be honest. Thought they could have given you a little bit more to play with, given with the things that they're asking you to do in the mission. But other than that, great sound design. God, I love it. Yeah, it's such a good looking, good sounding game. Boss fight was pretty cool. I agree with Krista. I do like that. Boss fights and RTSs are like a thing, so it's cool to see them done really well straight off the bat of this game. And a kind of good introduction of a character that you get to pretty much mainly face off, because like Aatrox is kind of a little bit distant for the first portion of this game. So I like that. I like that you're working your way up through the ranks. You have like lieutenants and other characters to interact with.
And you see Decimus in the cutscene, the intro cutscene too.
Yeah.
If you pay attention,
he's also in the comic as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say the Spartan kill animations are pretty badass. So every now and again, your Spartan will do something incredible if you're paying attention when it's killing a unit. So like I had like Jerome, like he got a brute and he jetpacked up into the air and slammed them back down, which was pretty damn cool. I wasn't really sure what I was watching. I was like, holy shit, what was that? But it was really cool. So I totally forgotten those were a thing. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see some more of them.
There's a lot of little details in this game that go a really long way.
Oh yeah, this game's beautiful. And I think we may have talked about it at some point, or you guys have talked about in the main podcast Evolved, but the guy that did the art, the main designer, I think, is working on Infinite. So that's just interesting to know.
Banished confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, beautiful game. So this will be fun to continue to take you through. Krista, any other thoughts on the mission itself?
No. I found it pretty enjoyable, but I wasn't trying to be a completionist. So
yeah.
I think that really changes the tone of the mission.
I think so too. I think once I finally get all the optional objectives and like have a run like that, then I just won't worry about it anymore, and I'll be able to replay it and just go after Decimus, and everything will be fine. There are Phoenix logs, as we mentioned. The locations of them, you get one right away. You actually have to kind of go around. So at that first base encounter, right away with your initial Strike 1 team, after you take out the banish there, you just go around. There's kind of some water and a little river that you need to go around, so it's behind there. And then the second one is really obvious. It's right in front of the base that you build. When you're building up your supply pad and your generator and all that sort of stuff, it's just kind of right in the front there, right before the hill. So grab those. And Krista, what do those have to say?
They're very, very long. I'm not sure why we need full-blown novels for each of them, but I will do my best to kind of capture the essence.
Yes.
So the first one is called The Graveyard. It's by Palmer Nathaniel J., the archaeologist at Lamb Research Center. It's his personal diary, so make sure you don't show anyone else. It is recorded 11/28/25/58, and it kind of documents the aftermath of the attack of the brutes and how scary it was. 15 of them managed to escape. They were running away. They heard gunfire. They saw some brutes, and then they kind of ran into the Ark. And they were on the run for a couple days, and they're just kind of hoping that they can find their way to gain back what they lost at this point. They're not sure why the brutes attacked. They're not sure if they're Covenant or what. They just know they were attacked and they had to run away. So that is The Graveyard. The next one is Rise of Atriox 1. And it is a Oni Section 0 transcription between subjects D and S, the Nintendo DS. It is recorded on 2/15/25/50. So this shows that back in 2550 they knew something about it. And it is...
About Atriox.
Yeah. And so it is two people talking about how they were interrogating a grunt. And the grunt, of course, doesn't want to talk very much, but they eventually get the name Atriox out of him. And no one knows what he's talking about, but they'll find out in about 8 years or so.
Just a quick note, the date on the first one that you read was November 28th of 2558. And so that... The Cortana stuff happened in October, so about a month later is when Atriox shows up.
Yeah. And
cool.
That's it, yep.
Alright, let's do some community stuff. David, what do you got?
I have Facebook.
Boo.
What do you mean,
Facebook's for
boo?
old people.
Facebook's so good, so simple and easy. I see everything. And people love me there. I'm not quite a king, but whatever, it's fine.
It's okay, I have my own army now.
Perkins. No one cares. Colin Perkins, the admin, on June 15th at 8:24 p.m. Create your own badass brute, so not a crappy brute, a badass brute. Right. What's his name and signature weapon? Bio optional. Oh my god, Chris. Oh my god, Colin. Look at you. Question mission Debrief, Halo Wars 2, a new enemy mission. So what we got Richard Miller straight in off the bat with Commander Chief Queef. Special ability, can Queef on demand.
Setting the tone.
John Phoenix says Dead Tartarus. Patrick says Chieftain Heavy Balls, and his special ability is to generate health, and every successful hit he lands with his meat hammer. Brutus Maximus, he wields a large hammer that has a gravity assisted cheeks that clap when pounded. This sends shockwaves that knock enemies into next Tuesday. He calls it Twerk Hammer. That was from Matthew. That was pretty descriptive. Ryan says Biggest Dickus. I like where this is going. He wields a staff but with a gravity hammer head on each end. He can get into a crowd of enemies and spin it around, so he gets double Killtactor and Kilimanjaros within seconds. He calls it the Mercury's Oath.
Ooh,
That's
I like
a pretty
that.
cool name. And Storm says Brute Chieftain Nefarious, who wields a custom Brute Shot named Alpha and custom Gravity Hammer named Omega. That's pretty dope. That's pretty good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's some good, a mix of good humor and some serious ones. I think I came up with this question because Decimus and Atriox are such like mean, tough names. I want to see if anybody else could come up with some good ones. Biggest Dickus is pretty good though.
That's from Monty Python.
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
It is. Okay.
And so is Brutus
been
Maximus,
years.
I think, as well. Yeah, I think.
Nice.
Like
All
I
right,
said,
cool.
old people at Facebook.
Whatever, Krista.
What do you got on Discord?
We have Diabetes, the chieftain of the brutes. That's by General Eggman. Knight Reyna says slow hammer. These are all my subjects, by the way. I got a general and a knight. Matt, who is not part of the army, says tartar sauce wielding a golden fish stick, defending the
Yes.
principles of flakiness and golden brownness. Bunny says Belartus, defender of the Holy High Charity Outlet Shopping Center, riding around on his custom personal transportation vehicle, the Heavy Assault Infantry Rideable Yacht, and wielding the baton of capitalism.
Wow.
Very good, and that's Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Dizzy Bumper says Daddy, chieftain of Halo. Lord Beerman says everyone has heard of Vortis and Padvium, but few know about the youngest brother, Mari, a wielder of flaming plants and sacred Tanuki suit. Is that that's the
That's the raccoon suit.
yeah, the raccoon suit.
Mm.
The armor and the consumer of giant shrooms. Head bitch Becky says my brute is named Bort Bort and his weapon is just a foam finger instead of Wart Wart, you know. Dizuto, hey Dizuto, how's it going? Sir Sassy Squatch of Shakawian. He's armed with his wits and lisp. Dadvius says Hakiris, a half-brute, half-Wookiee Covenant Remnant leader that triple wields Type 25 plasma rifles and has a large amount of D20 frags from Cursed Halo. Here's another Biggest Dickus. Thank you, Hector. I'm not gonna read another Biggest Dickus. And that's about all we got. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks as always.
Your queen is pleased.
David, I think I forgot about trivia. Were there any other points?
Just 2 small points. When Decimus issues the orbital strike for the first time, the UNSC base's health is capped at half, regardless of any remaining health points on the UNSC base. In Red vs. Blue, Season 15, Episode 11, Tucker can be seen playing the level. There you go.
Oh, funny. Nice. I still need to go back and watch all those. One day.
One day.
That will do it for our debriefing of A New Enemy mission from Halo Wars 2. On the next episode, we'll be covering the Ascension mission. Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Podcast Evolved on Patreon. And don't forget about that free audiobook trial. Visit audibletrial.com/podcastevolved. Until next time, evolve.
Goodbye.